The dojo fell silent as the challenger stepped forward, a smug grin plastered across his face. He had watched Bruce Lee's movies and dismissed them as trickery, just camera angles and wire work. Now, in front of a live audience of martial artists and reporters, he planned to expose the actor as a fraud. He called Bruce out by name, mocking his flashy moves and small frame, demanding a real fight. The crowd leaned in, expecting a humiliation. What happened next took less than 3 seconds, and left the loudmouth gasping on the mat, his pride shattered before he even hit the ground. The challenger was a cocky martial artist from a traditional school, convinced that Bruce Lee's on-screen explosions were pure Hollywood fantasy. He had never felt a real Jeet Kune Do strike, never witnessed Bruce's blinding acceleration in person. To him, Bruce was a showman. Graceful, yes, but untested against a real fighter who played by no-rules street codes. He arrived at the demonstration with 3 training partners, all smirking, all ready to film Bruce's downfall. He stood in the center of the dojo, feet planted in a deep horse stance, and declared loudly that Bruce Lee's speed was a camera trick. He pointed at Bruce's slender forearms and joked that they looked better suited for chopsticks than combat. The room held its breath. Bruce, wearing a simple black shirt and resting his hands on his hips, said nothing. He just watched. That silence made the challenger bolder. He stepped closer, waving his own fists, taunting Bruce to prove he could land a single clean hit before being taken down. He even turned to the crowd and laughed, saying, "Look at him. He won't even try." What he didn't understand was that Bruce had spent years stripping away every wasted motion from fighting. He didn't telegraph. He didn't dance. He didn't need a warm-up. The challenger's greatest mistake was thinking that because Bruce Lee was famous for movies, he had never been in real danger. In truth, Bruce had trained constantly against every style, boxing, fencing, street brawling, to find what worked fastest. He knew that in a real confrontation, there is no round 2. The challenger's stance was solid but too wide. His hands were up, but his chin was exposed. His eyes were focused on Bruce's chest, a common error taught in some traditional schools. Bruce saw all of this in half a second. He also saw that the man truly believed his own hype. That belief made him slow. Overconfidence makes fighters lazy, and a lazy fighter against Bruce Lee was already defeated. The challenger thought he had the advantage of surprise by starting the public shaming early, but Bruce had already decided. He would not argue. He would not explain. He would simply show the difference between a performer and a predator, and he would do it without throwing a single kick or spinning back fist, just one direct line, 1 inch of explosive power, and a lesson delivered so fast that most eyes would miss it entirely. Bruce Lee did not shift his stance. He did not raise his fists or circle the challenger. To the untrained eye, he appeared almost relaxed. Hands low, weight centered, expression blank. But the challenger, still grinning, kept advancing, now within arm's reach. That was his second fatal error. Against Bruce Lee, being close was not safe. It was the kill zone. Bruce had perfected what he called the straight lead punch. Not a looping haymaker or a wild swing, but the shortest possible line between his fist and the target. He had drilled it tens of thousands of times against wooden dummies focus, mitts, and live sparring partners. The mechanics were ruthless. A sudden forward weight shift, a slight drop of the shoulder to protect the chin, and an explosive whip of the arm from the center line. No telegraph, no wind-up, no wasted backswing. When the challenger's mouth opened to deliver another insult, Bruce moved. It was not a step, it was a launch. His back foot drove off the mat, his hip snapped forward, and his lead fist shot out from waist height directly into the man's chest, just below the sternum. The impact sounded like a wet crack against a leather bag. But the real shock came from what happened next. The challenger did not just stumble backward, he was lifted. Both feet left the ground as if yanked by an invisible rope. His eyes went wide, not from pain alone, but from sheer disbelief. He had expected to block or counter. Instead, his arms were still mid-air, his brain still processing the insult he never finished. Bruce's fist had already retracted to its starting position before the man's back slammed into a wooden folding chair behind him. The chair collapsed. The challenger landed on his side, gasping, unable to draw breath for several long seconds. His training partners just stared. No one laughed anymore. The entire sequence, from Bruce's first muscle twitch to the crash of the chair, took less than 2 seconds. Later, witnesses would describe it as a magic trick. But it was pure physics. Mass times acceleration delivered into the solar plexus with surgical precision. Bruce had not aimed for the jaw or the nose. Those targets require head movement and risk breaking knuckles. He aimed for the body's center line, where the diaphragm compresses and air evacuates instantly. The challenger lay there, legs kicked, out, making a sound like a punctured bellows. His earlier bravado had evaporated into dust. Bruce straightened his shirt, stepped back to his original spot, and said nothing. He did not need to. The silence in the dojo was louder than any victory speech. The aftermath was worse for the challenger than the punch itself. As he lay on the dojo floor, struggling to pull air into his lungs, his 3 training partners rushed to his side. None of them dared look at Bruce Lee. The reporters who had come expecting to film a humiliating defeat for the actor now scrambled to rewind their cameras, replaying the 2-second clip over and over. What they captured became underground legend. A single frame where Bruce's fist connected, the challenger's face frozen between arrogance and agony, and the chair collapsing like a prop in a cartoon. Within days, the story spread through every martial arts school in the region. The man who tried to humiliate Bruce Lee had instead become a warning. He withdrew from public teaching, canceled all his upcoming seminars, and refused to speak about the incident for months. But the pressure of being known as the guy Bruce dropped followed him everywhere. Fellow instructors quietly uninvited him from events. Students who once admired him asked for refunds. His reputation, built on years of traditional posturing, shattered in less than 2 seconds of real contact. Eventually, he sought out Bruce personally to apologize. According to those present, he bowed deeply and admitted he had been arrogant and blind. He said he had spent years believing that speed was just about fast hands, not about economy of motion. Bruce accepted the apology with a small nod and offered no further humiliation, only a quiet piece of advice. Don't pray for an easy fight. Pray for the strength to endure a hard one. But the public humiliation had already backfired, completely. Instead of exposing Bruce Lee as a fraud, the incident cemented his legend as a fighter who could not be tested because he had already solved fighting. Traditional masters who had dismissed Jeet Kune Do as not a real style began privately asking Bruce for private lessons. Movie producers who saw the footage stopped asking Bruce to slow down his fight scenes for the camera. They simply learned to film faster. And for years afterward, whenever someone new walked into a martial arts gym and boasted about how they could take Bruce Lee, older students would smile and tell them the story of the chair. The challenger's name faded from memory, but the lesson did not. Underestimating Bruce Lee was not just a mistake. It was a one-way ticket to the floor, with a crowd watching and no comeback possible.